S&OP Community Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Ahmed Khalid and Ahmed Al-Hamamsi from Middle East. Our Global S&OP Community Podcast mission is to build a global community from supply chain, marketing, trade marketing, sales and finance all over the world, where everyone's voice could be heard and listened. Every week, we host a new episode with great thought leader in the S&OP industry. We believe that one word, one story, or one conversation could open up the light in the screen of your consciousness and you'll never be the same again. We discuss hot and trending topics with our subject matter experts by asking the right questions that uncover their valuable experience in our show. You can visit our website ahmedkhaled.co. Stay tuned every week with our Global S&OP Community podcast. Hey. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the wonderful people who are listening to us and watching us right now. Welcome to our Global S&OP Community Show. Before we start our special episode today, may I ask you, as usual, to let me know where are you from and to send you some warm regards and greetings to your lovely country. Unfortunately, today my co-host Ahmed Al-Hamamsi will not be able to join and attend our topic today and our episode today because he has some challenges. Hopefully, he will be able to join us by next week. So, in case if it's the first time for you to tune in our Global S&OP Community Show, my name is Ahmed Khalid, and I am your host for today's episode. Uh, let you know about our mission as I said before for the global S&OP community. Our mission is to build a global community of supply chain marketing, trade marketing, sales and finance all over the world, where everyone's voice could be heard and listened. Our show, as you know, it's not just two way of communications. Don't think that we are just asking questions to our guests and just receiving some answers. It's three ways of communication. And the third element inside our show is your voice, because your voice should be heard and listened. That's why we specify our show where you can ask freely and in our global S&OP community and speak with our leaders with these very hot topics. So we discuss very touching based topics and trending topics inside the S&OP industry with our subject matter expert or leaders all over the world. Let me take some comments from our audience and send some greetings as promised. So we have our friend Sharif. Hi, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great to see you. Our brother Fadl, thank you so much for tuning in, Fadl. We have Manuel. Hello, great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our lovely brother, warm greetings, my brother. Great to see you, Osama. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our friend Hussein Al Tawil. Hello, great to see you, brother. Thank you so much for tuning in, as usual. Uh, Again, our brother Osama, the legend. Great to see you. Thank you so much, brother. Uh, our friend from Dublin, Ireland, Diana. Hi, my friend. Great to see you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have three. Thank you for tuning in. As usual, three. Thank you so much. Our friend Aya Fikri. Great mission. Thank you for tuning in. Firstly, great mission. Ahmed Khalid, keep it going and spread the knowledge to the globe. Thank you so much. for tuning in. We have technical challenge, I would say, as usual. LinkedIn user, I don't know why it's not appearing, but hey, Ahmed, this this is Sawa. I know. Yeah, there are some technical issues. I think I will contact LinkedIn after this because this is not the first time. So excuse us for this technical challenge. So coming back, so the topic for today is very common, I would say, inside the organization business and even inside the S&OP. And most organizations could live this struggle on a daily basis without just sensing it or feeling it. Our topic today is to reconnect all the silos together to have a great collaboration between all functions inside the business. How can we promote this kind of culture inside the organization just to collaborate between all functions? I know there are many questions that will come into your mind, especially if you're inside the organization, and I know these struggles. That's why we need your engagement today by asking and sharing your views with us, and especially our great guest today. Our great guest today, just let me I share the screen. If you can see, guys, our great guest today, he is Michael Neme. Michael climbed the corporate ladder till he reaches to a director of enterprise with a company of sales of $4 billion annually. Uh, then he decided to leave the corporate life and begins his entrepreneurial career. He starts his own franchise agency and partnered with a global trends almost 2 years ago. He's an amazing entrepreneur, and I guarantee you, he's very fabulous broadcaster. I want you to go and check his broadcasting on LinkedIn, and his amazing content all over the platform. He has a great, very great content to be followed. I'm asking you also to go and check it. He worked with different types of companies and industries, and his main focus always on helping consumer brands to drive operational transportational cost, eliminate manual process, and mitigate risks and increase profitability. He is the CEO and the founder of Midwest Consulting Company. May I ask you to just welcome with me, Michael, please?
What's
Michael,
up, dude?
great to have you today.
Great to be here. I appreciate it, man.
It will be an amazing discussion, and I think that this topic today it's touching a real base inside many organizations, which is many people are struggling on a daily basis. That's why I believe that we will drive a lot of values all together, and we reveal a lot of questions that touch a base on hand today. Welcome to the show again.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me, man.
great to see you. So the first question that let's warm up, and I'm asking also our audience today just to engage with us. If you have anything or any question in your mind, please engage with us and let us know your opinion or any question in your mind. So I don't like to say that how to smash the silos or how to crash the silos because silos will be there. But my philosophy, and I hear this from one of my friends, say that each function they have silos and they build the silos more and more and more. The game is how to reconnect, not to smash the silos, how to reconnect these silos together to serve the business imperatives. What do you think about this philosophy?
I mean, you just said it. I mean, there's going to be always silos, right? But it starts getting, listen, I'm not here to, in these larger organizations, listen, I can't really reinvent the wheel on that, right? But I can, but what I can do is, that's where my focus went into, these emerging growth stage brands that shouldn't have silos, right? And they do, right? So explaining to them, from a supply chain standpoint, how every department impacts your company from a supply chain standpoint, whether you believe it or not, and having executive leadership involved in that and explaining the impacts that each department has on the company as well as themselves, right? And I think that that's just lost, right? Everybody, again, it's time and time again, in supply chain, it's like no executive really wants to be involved. Oh, I don't handle shipping, when really it's like, well, it's not shipping. It's just so many different there's so many different things that go into your supply chain you should be involved in. Quite frankly, people want to follow a leader, right? They want to have a voice too. They want to have an opinion. And I think a lot of people just want yes men. And then think about that. Companies start scaling, and then they get bigger, and change is very hard once you get to, say, you're
Yeah.
from $5 million in revenue in a company, and then you get to that $50 million. It's a lot harder. I've changed companies like that, and it's a lot harder to change that $50 million company versus that $5 million company. So my goal is to just be that voice and explain, like, hey, listen, everybody needs to be at the table. Everybody needs to know that, hey, we got to build a strategy around the good of the entire company, but then also inside each department, we got to build strategies, and everybody has to be working together.
Yeah. What are the challenges that you faced? You said that you have just moved from 5 million company into 50 million company. What are the main challenges that you see, that because when you goes up just in the ladder itself, that change anything, it will be harder. How I'm just asking you, even for the leaders that they're listening to us right now, how how can they change something like that, even regardless the scale of the company? I know it's becoming harder, but how they will be able to do real change in this point?
Take a step back. I mean, you have to. I mean, so real quick though. So when you're asking me, are we sticking with the $50 million company or just in general?
$50 million. I'm saying that
So
because there is a big difference
rip the
between 5
Band-Aid off.
million and 50. Yeah.
So I just actually had a meeting with, it was close to $50 million in revenue, and I've been reaching out to the CEO of this company for 2 years now, and it was never wanting to sit down. And I said, I've talked to multiple people in your company that touch the supply chain, from accounting, from IT. You have no, from sales. I need you involved because you are the leader. You're the CEO of the company. We need to have a
Hmm.
meeting of the minds, and we need to take a step back and really look at what is our main goals, right? First and foremost, what your customers wants and needs, and then also yours, and then build a strategy around that, and realize that each department that I just mentioned to you is going
Hmm.
to play a crucial role in this, because it is financially impacting this company I'm talking about. So it's just getting that. And I'm not saying like, oh, the CEO, like a lot of people are like, oh, well, CEO doesn't handle supply chain. I know that, but you have to have a leader involved to spearhead whatever type of processes you're going to put in place, and make them I guess essentially, yeah, they're going to be the leader of it, right? You have to have everybody in the room. You have to have a meeting of the minds, and you have to realize, hey, the CEO, CFO, any type of executive that's leading the change has to be in
Hmm.
there, and they have to be involved. They just do. And that's what I would say, is do that sooner rather than later, because it's good. I mean, for this sense, for this company, yeah, we could do this, but it's a lot. Trust me, it's a lot harder to do
Yeah.
when it's 50. It just is.
Yeah, I can understand, because if you're talking about a company with 5 million, which is moving one time, I don't want to say one time, but along the way to 50 millions, they started as entrepreneurial mind. So you're running it, and I know this kind of entrepreneurial mind, especially when you're running your supply chain. I like what you said when you touch point on that. It's longer and harder, but once you settle down all the process, it becomes easier. I'll jump into the first question. We have first question now. So again, guys, please, because of the time of our episode, if I'm asking you, I'll jump into the questions. So any question, I will jump into it, just sake of the sake of time. So we have our friend Fikri. She's asking, what are the challenges that you face or see changing 5 million or 50 million?
I mean, a lot. I mean, that could be all situational, but I mean, from a supply chain standpoint, I mean, look at it, you can get away with manual processes at $5 million. Let's say, what, 50, it's probably 50,000, maybe $100,000 line item when it comes into like transportation. That's not that difficult to, run it like an auction, right? I don't suggest it, but you see a lot of manual processes. You don't really know your
Yeah,
cost to serve. Your goal is to sell, 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 sell.
exactly.
Well, that you can't do that in a 50
Mhm.
million. I mean, you just can't, right? If you don't know your margins, that's where a lot of people start failing, and they don't even make it to that 50 million mark, because again, they don't have any processes put in place that revolve around like their customers' wants and needs, right? So that's the biggest issue, is having a process and having a scalable process, right? So that's why it's like good in the front end. Hey, you only do $100,000 now, but this is why you shouldn't be going out and, treating your supply chain like an auction. Let's put some processes in place that's going to scale, so that, again, it's a lot easier. Yeah, I'm not saying we're going to stick to the same processes to get to that 50
Mhm.
million, but they're going to generally be around the same they're going to have the same concept, and we're going to be able to pivot a lot faster when there's processes put in place, right? So just putting scalable processes in place is the key.
I can understand also this challenge, especially for a 5 million company. And if you are talking about some softwares or some ERP that you're trying to use it, it will hit directly your margin because 5 million, and I'm talking about ERP, whatever the name of the company, I don't want to name anything just to not
Yeah.
think people that they think that we are promoting, but it will hit directly your margin because relatively, if, my revenue, it's 5 million and I'm just investing in ERP, which will hit my margin, it will be not non-affordable. The game is, I like what you said, it's scalability. At which time I need to invest in my software and process that will take me to the next level. I know that my business right now is expanding and scalable, but when it was the best time and the optimal time that I can spend, then it will take me to the next level. I explore more and I build my relationship more with my internal, even external, with my partnership in the supply chain, whether customers, suppliers, and even inside the organization.
You
This is
just
the
hit it
point.
right there, though. When is the right time to invest in, say, a software, right? ERP, right? So I'm really familiar with ERP, but that's a prime example. Like, I see it's education, right? You only know what you know, and I don't want to stop me if I go on a rant here, but a lot of companies, on my end, right? If I look out at my end, there's always like a new technology like a new ERP, or there's like a new TMS coming out, and
Mhm.
you have no idea how many times I go into companies and they have an ERP, they have a TMS, they're spending tons of money, but they don't even use them. They're not even connected. They're not talking to each other. So it's like, listen, I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer. I push technology. My company has technology, but technology for the sake of just having technology doesn't do anything,
Cannot
and it's
serve,
going to
yeah.
kill it's going to kill your bottom line. Listen, figure out, have some processes in place first, because I know companies that don't have that have zero technology right now,
Mhm.
no ERP, no TMS, but have processes in place
Yeah.
that literally blow out any company with technology, and they're saving a ton of money just because they didn't have to invest at that time, right? What is crucial for your company at that point? And I think that that comes back to us, right? On my side, we have to be the
Mhm.
person that educates our customers, saying, hey, we're not going to just give you a technology platform because it's going to benefit us. I'd rather lose the sale than sell something to someone that's only going to add to their challenges.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's the values to the customer. Yeah, there are sometimes values that you need to generate on the to the organization, but think always directly to the customer. Relate everything how you can add values to the customer. That's why these companies that they're very sustainable and moving and expanding because they think firstly about their customers. Yeah,
You have to.
S-
How do you
yeah,
get
for
sales, man? I
sure,
mean,
for sure,
if it's
for
not about the
sure.
customer, you got nothing.
Exactly. I'll move to the next question. I hope that we answered you, Aya. So we will move into our LinkedIn user, the technical challenge that we have always. But anyway, I'll ask this: how as a leader to deal with the organization restructure? As we know, with the current economical situation, a lot of organizations escape to restructure instead of fixing the core of the problem. It's a very nice question.
Yeah. I'll let you answer that one first. I'm trying to think.
Okay,
That's a good question.
so Uh, if you're talking about a restructure, you have to ask yourself. I'm not sure who is there, but I will check after who is there about LinkedIn user. But if you're talking about restructure, I believe that you have firstly to understand why do you need the restructure? Because of what? Because it's not just the restructure for restructure. Any restructure will happen because some gaps inside the organization. You need to add value for something, right? For instance, I need to have a restructure from a focus to focus on specific customer. I'm saying just from the downstream side. Uh, I need to restructure my supply chain to focus on a specific customer. So I will take my people and I will serve them. Instead of just focusing on a channel level, I will let them focus on, I would say, top customers A or B, C. So these kind of things, you have to understand why do you need the restructure itself, and what is always, I'm saying this, what is the cost of this restructure versus the benefits. Sometimes there are many tangible things that you can identify, and sometimes there are many intangible things that you cannot identify, but you have to identify both tangible and intangible. And based on that, you can move forward, because I see many organizations, they move into restructure just for restructure. When you come and ask them, why do you have this restructure, they don't have anything, and they don't identify, they don't even do the basic question that they ask themselves. This restructure will take us from X to Y, identify what will be the hit or the positive hit that they will have, maybe in top line sales, maybe even enhancing, developing their organization and their values inside the organization. So I hope that I answered you, LinkedIn user. I'm not sure who is this, but I will come back to
Yeah.
you.
I
Yeah.
got, yeah. I mean, because great question, but it's very situational, right? I mean, this could
Mm.
go anyway, but like you just said, is it's like, what are you trying to restructure? What do you need? Like, what? Look at your own personal life, right? Like, if a lot of people, I tend to like have, they want to new year, new me, right? That
Yeah.
motto, and it's like,
Mm.
what? No, I don't believe in that. I believe in, like, I can't change everything, right? Say you got bad habits, you can't change everything at once,
Yeah.
right? You have to take it in pieces. What is the most impactful thing in, I'll just use my life. What is hurting me? What is holding me back in my life right now that I need to change? That's, and even at a company, what's the most important thing? And then focusing in on that. And then that's it, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to make a million changes at once, right? Focus on the most, 1, 2, 3 important things that are inside your company, that are whatever it may be, that are financially impacting your company, and then making those changes. And then once those changes become like natural behavior, like you switched
Yeah.
it, then it becomes, okay, cool. Now let's look at this thing again. But a lot of people switch everything, and then all of a sudden it's like the diet, right? The crash diet. It's like I'm going to get healthy. I'm going to work out. And then they don't see results in a week, 2 weeks, a month. And then oh, well, that's not the problem. Something else is the
Yeah.
problem, right? It's like, so they're never getting any really results. They're just changing to change for no reason.
Yeah, and just to add something on that point, maybe it's a tricky question, and
Yeah.
maybe I will add something here. If I understand that restructure here maybe is laying off people or just moving people out of the organization. And at this moment, I'm always saying this. I think it's the easiest way. The easiest way that you can take inside the organization is, if you want to have savings in your bottom line easily, you can focus on your indirects or overheads. So I will lay off people, and I will say just yeah, I need to have a restructure. I need to optimize people, because I think that now our company is degrowing. Whatever it's in your situation, this is the easiest way, and it shows the kind of leadership or the quality of leadership that you have. Instead of focusing, if I have a target of my bottom line, I need to have improve my bottom line percentage, whether it's a margin, whether it's bottom line. I'm saying that focus on all the potential things that you can unlock from your top line sales. And this is something like, I would say, from the other side, which is how you can improve your weighted distribution, or you can improve your numerical distribution. How can you reach and scale your business to many customers? How can you expand all of this? Because this directly will affect your top line sales. Instead of just getting this kind of savings from your overheads, you can have this incremental by unlocking the potential opportunities in the downstream. This is the hardest way, and this is shows how the quality of leadership they're working. Easily I can say, one day, bottom line, go, overheads, just and have my savings. But it's hard to focus and go into details to to catch this kind of right saving, I would say healthy
That's
savings.
so good.
Mm,
That's actually spot on. So I see it both ways, right? I think that, like, so like, let's say, like, a lot of people got laid off, right? This pandemic has, and that's not good, right? But
mm,
sometimes it's justifiable, and sometimes it's not. But I think it goes back to the leader, right?
Mm.
listen, we're not perfect, right? And there's
Yeah.
leaders out there that might have brought, tried to scale too much, too fast, and they brought people on that they didn't even need to bring on in the first place. It's a bummer, but they have to own your mistakes. But then I see companies that are just constantly, it's like their turnover rate is like, oh, it's just like, it's so high. And it's like, that's to me a poor leader, right? It's like, listen,
Yeah.
you're not cutting cost. You're actually spending more money if you think about it. If you're turning over people, bringing more people back on, cutting them. I mean, I won't even mention the company, but like,
Yeah,
and
it's
it's
affecting
like, no,
directly. Yeah, it's
own
affecting
your
the branding of the
mistakes.
company. Mm.
100%. It's like, listen, maybe clearly there's an issue, right? You keep on turning people over. Maybe you don't even need people right now. So listen, own your mistakes, right? Say, okay, listen, we're going to we're before I hire any more people on and bring them on and then cut them, right? Because that's affecting people's lives too. I don't want to get emotional on that, but that is affecting people's lives. It's time to take a 10,000 foot look at this and really realize what I need in this company. Okay, cool. I realized I don't need more people. I need to, put a couple different processes in place that's going to scale me. And then maybe I bring on more people, right? Because a lot of times it's not even the people that are like not performing at their job. At some point you got to point the finger at yourself, and that's the leader that says, hey, listen, it's not that person that's not good at their job. It's me.
Yeah, yeah. Again, because a company, it's people, and if
Yeah.
people, they can either take the company, the name of the brand of the company to the next level, or they can devastate it totally. And because I'll give you an example. Many of my friends, they have some challenges inside their organization. However, name of the company, it's very well. The reputation of the company is amazing, and they reach to a point that they need to have a revenge for their between them and their company. Why? The company is amazing, and when you think just for a moment, why they want to have this? Because of people, because of their leaders. So leaders, they are the name of the company. Company, it's leaders. So we are dealing always with people. We are not dealing with a company. So
I could cure.
always,
You're giving me chills because like there's places I've worked that as a whole the culture wasn't that great, right? But I had certain leaders that I still talk to today, mentors of mine that made my career, right? So it's like you just said it right there. The company name, and that's even with customers. No one really cares about. Yes, the company's good and all that's great, but it's the people inside there, right? What
exactly.
from sales? What is that salesperson bringing to the table to that customer, to your customer, that
Mhm.
other salespeople in your company isn't doing? Your company's not doing it, right? What is that leader? What are those good leaders? So it's like not to go on a rant again, but like to go into like it's the leaders in the company. Like take a step back. You look at turnover rate, take a step back and look at your leaders. What leaders are scaling people's careers is what I would say. Like, yes, let's look at numbers, but a lot of people just look at numbers and it's like, okay, that one leader, he could have a team, but his turnover rate is like 90%, right? But his numbers are high. But then you got that other leader that his turnover rates, 20%, maybe a little lower in revenue, but he's scaling people's careers. How many leaders did he make more
Yeah.
inside the company? Because guess what? Numbers are not the only thing that scale a company. One person doesn't scale a company. More leaders in a company scale a company.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. I'll jump into our friend 3. She's asking, CEO has a part because if sales are down, they want to know why. And where is the bottleneck? Is it raw materials? Is it pricing? Is it training for sales? Definitely 3. Yeah, yeah. That's why, yeah, it is a part from the organization itself.
Definitely training.
Yeah, yeah.
I see a lot, but no, but yeah, I see a lot, but like, it's everything, right? But I think, from my own personal, I don't go when I'm meeting with companies, I'm not necessarily, I'm not, trust me, it is the training. I think a lot of people lack that. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole just because that's not my thing. But I think it starts from a supply chain standpoint, sales are
Mm,
down. Well, okay, do you have any type of, visibility into your key cost drivers that are specifically, going to target certain things? Why are sales down, right? Customer profitability, all that stuff. Like, why are you
mhm.
missing sales? So a lot of times it's not knowing your cost to serve, right? It's like, why? So their process is right now, okay, cool. We're just going to continue to reach out to brokers, carriers, and get the cheapest rate, right? That's
Mm,
going to drive up margin. Well, not necessarily. You're diluting your buying power. You're treating it like an auction. Take a step back. Do you know your cost to serve by customer, by location, by SKU?
yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
no, we're just guessing at that. Well, boom, right there. I can guarantee you just little stuff like that can
Mm,
increase your bottom line. But
yeah.
knowing that to structure your pricing better is key, because especially if you're a commodity, I work with a lot of like merge and growth stage CPG companies, and there's tons of protein bars out there trying to get into big box retailer, right? How do you and those guys, I hate to say it, but it's like they care about money. They have tons of, like Walmart, right? Walmart has tons of protein bars coming in there.
Mm,
How are you different? Well, it's going to be through your supply chain, right?
mm,
And that can, not knowing how to properly allocate transportation cost into your pricing model is a huge financial impact, right? It could break a company. You could lose. I've seen it literally destroy a company that could have just tweaked
I
their
know. Yeah.
pricing and know it. It's like, but no
Yeah.
one, again, it goes back to, that's the CEO. Like, the CEO needs to realize that. And I'm not saying every CEO is supposed to be the smartest person out there, but knowing, if someone came to the table and said, "Hey, listen, do you know your cost to serve?" And they said no. Well, okay, cool. Acknowledge that, and now it's time to switch it, because that's where it really. I mean, I stuck with the pricing part, but that's a huge issue why sales and margins are down.
Yeah, and especially if you're talking about transportation, you open something here also. I see it as struggle when it comes even to the distributors or distribution side. When you are serving a multiple ship to points, when you have direct stores delivery, and people they ignore all of this because when it comes to you need to have the cost that to serve as you said, and the orders that you will have and the service level that you will have, how much
Yeah.
you will have in that point, and even how much you will be able to serve. This needs to be optimized. And I like what you said, because one time they'll have a hit in their transportation cost because the number of fleets that you have it on a daily basis, regardless the size of the business or the size of the trucks or the size of the fleet, but this is money. How you will be able to optimize this is the right questions that needs to be asked, even not from the CEO, but even from the organization itself. Where is what are the elements of our cost inside it?
But here's the thing: is that comes back. It goes back to, like, this is why you need the CEO, right? If we talk about, this isn't even sales training, but like, again, from a silo standpoint, I talk to many, believe it or not, you get to a point where there's a lot of sophisticated supply chain managers that I talk to that realize that, right? But even they, Mike, man, we want to switch this, but our CFO says we got to drive costs down, and knowing your cost to serve can definitely drive cost out and increase. It's a scalable model, but it's not a quick model like that, right? They need to go out to RFP everything. They don't even have
Mm,
the volume, but it's like they want to make the change, but it has to come from the VP of supply chain. A close mentor of mine once said, "Go where the money's at, Mike." And she's VP of supply chain at a $500 million company. And even she
wow.
said, "Go where the money's at." And they need to be involved to realize that, right? Like, you don't
Yeah.
hire supply chain managers. Even the most sophisticated supply chain managers weren't hired to know, know the ins and outs of your pricing model, right? The CFO, or if you have a CFO, or the CEO needs to be involved in that, because
Mhm.
that's their job. And
Yeah.
they need to be involved, and they need the supply chain guys or girls to be in there to know from, an operational level, how they can, make things work.
Yeah. Okay, we'll have the second question from our friend Karim Al-Komi. He's asking, do success behaviors and attitude of people change from 5 million to 50 million, or is it the
Ego.
same at all scales?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I could, prime example. I mean, we've all been there, right? I mean, I can admit it. Like, my behavior, just in the corporate world, right? I tend to, everybody, I say everybody, but I think gets a little bit of ego, and it gets in it gets, you got to cut it off. And I think that interesting with me is, I started with a company that was franchise based out, right? And my owner of my franchise was the CEO, or not CEO, the senior vice president of sales at corporate. So I watched us get acquired, go corporate. I watched us go from, I think we were like 250 million, small office, and
Mhm.
we scaled. Now they're like $4 or $5 billion, right? And I
Wow.
watched the culture change. I watched changes happening, right? But I saw it firsthand. The first 3 years, smaller
Mm.
feel, everybody had like a say, and then I just watched it as we got acquired. They tell you, change isn't going to happen. And this is for the better. And listen, from a business standpoint, it made sense why we got acquired, and I get that. But it got so siloed to where it was like everybody, it just was you had no say anymore, right? And that's
Yeah.
essentially why I left
Yeah.
that my first career or my first job after 5 years, because I said, listen, they're just way too big. I can't scale where I want to scale. I got no voice. But I think ego plays a huge role into that. And once you scale that high, that's where it goes back to having right processes in place, having the right leaders in your company.
Exactly.
Because once you
Mm.
get big, you better hope because it's a ripple effect. It's like if you don't have the right processes, more so the right leaders in charge, once you scale, how are you going to build more leaders, right? That's where it goes back to. It's
Yeah.
like ripple effect. Bad leaders usually breed, if they even get to, bring on, more leaders or scale other people's careers,
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
type of people.
Yeah. So I think also it's just touching a point here. Behavior and attitude for people, for sure, it's very important. But you touch base point, which is leaders inside the organization, because if you have a great culture, if you have a great people, great attitude, great behavior inside the organization, but you don't have great leaders that they have a vision and they know where are they want to go, this is a challenge. Because imagine with me that you have a Ferrari car, okay, and you want to go somewhere, but you don't have a GPS. You will be always you will drifted, all the time, right, left, and you'll end up nowhere. That's why if you have the right attitude and the right people and lacking the leadership, you will not be able to scale up your business. You will not be able to go from 5 million to 50 millions because
No
people they
roadmap.
don't know where they want. Yeah, exactly.
It's like
That's why.
that's such a good point about the roadmap, though. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It just brings back a memory of mine. One of my biggest mentors, my first manager, said it. He goes, Mike, if I was to tell you, there's $1 million hidden in a suitcase outside, in Michigan, right? I hid it in Michigan. Would you be able to find it? I was like, and I started answering questions, and he was like, Mike, you're not going to find $1 million in a suitcase if if I just said, hey, it's hidden in Michigan, go find it. He goes, my goal is to give you a roadmap to where you want to go. It's going to be a lot easier to find that $1 million. So it's all about roadmap. And I do want to hit on something. You said culture. I think the biggest thing is people preach culture a lot.
Mm.
Culture can be different in everybody's eyes, right? Like, for instance, some people want to make a ton of money and that's all they care about, right? I think a good leader knows that they have to treat everybody different. And when I say different, it's like you have to know the wants and needs of your team.
Yeah.
What is Mike's wants and needs? What is Ashley's wants and needs? And that's how you build a scalable team inside an organization, right? Focus on your team and their wants and needs. That's when it becomes dangerous in a good way.
Yeah. Michael, just one question came into my mind that I believe that everyone in the business has a personal interest, right?
Yeah,
Everyone, because we're human for sure. This is something that we all
100%.
know. But now, how we can treat this if we have some personal interest? How can we overcome this personal interest and just let everything like business interest in the first place, not our personal interest? Because I see this inside the organization. What is your experience in that?
So you're meaning like put aside my own personal interests and just focus, like how do you just focus on the
So,
business objectives?
yeah, I'll tell you just if I have sometimes because as we spoke about the silos, if I
Hmm.
have some specific targets inside my function, but this directly will have a conflict with the business interest or the business imperatives. So if in order to achieve this KPI or goal or target for my function, I will screw the business imperatives or the business goals. How can I deal
So,
with this?
so it's funny you said that. Another personal experience of mine is I pretty new leader. I got moved from Michigan to Wisconsin. I was running a team. We ended up winning this like really large RFP, right? And it was like $30 million. And great for my office, you think, right? And I had a baseline, and I had to go so much percentage above my baseline of margin. So we brought this $30 million account on. And for the first 6 months, it was a big name. So it was great for like our company in general, right? We just started going corporate, no more franchise model. So it was a huge name, right? So we were so the first 6 months, it was great. We were profitable. And then we already, the way the contract was is we were going to lose a ton of money, but get it all in the last 6 months, right? And I mean a ton. And it looked so bad. I mean, it put my office, again, it's like egos in my head, because I said something, believe me. I was like, this is bull, this is bull. It made my office go from 1 to 0 last. I'm a new leader. All my people are hitting their mark, right? But now my office is last. I took that kind of bad. And then I remember I had a couple discussions, and I realized, listen, either way I look at it, right? It's going to, the company needs this company because it's a huge power name, right? It's a powerful name. It's a brand. It's a huge company. We need it. It does well for my company. This is an ego thing. I had to come to terms with that. I said, you're just mad because on paper you need that little number to make you feel good, right? When realistically you have a newer rep that just brought on a $30 million deal that's going to impact our company as a whole to the next level, which is awesome. You have 5 new reps that have hit their year-to-date goal in 6 months. That's huge. Start looking at things like that versus my own personal ego that was hurt because I went from 1 to 0 on paper because of that, right? And realized the little wins that I'm doing, the impact I'm having on my team's life from a positive standpoint. And at the end of the day, that was the right thing to do when it came into the greater good of the company. And I just had to. Does it hurt? Yeah, because again, I didn't win that President's Club for new manager, but I got over it, built a team, and again, I'm human. It definitely hurt. It wasn't like I was naturally like I am now, and I'm just like, oh, that's great, right? No, it was. I shook a couple branches up, but it's just having the self-awareness to take a step back and realize, okay, this is the pros of this. This is the cons. Which way you gonna go?
Yeah, because you asked yourself the right questions in that point. Because some people, again, we spoke about the silos, that they think in silos. I don't care about what you're talking about. I don't care about what's happening in the business as long as my targets or my KPIs are achieved. And I think that, again, a big role is played here by the leaders inside the corporation. When it comes that there is always, as we spoke before, Michael, which is conflict will be there all the time. Conflict will be there. Conflict will be there. But now, what is the role of the leadership inside the organization to manage this kind of conflict? And when it comes that I don't know what will be, I don't care about what's happening in the business. I believe that the leadership, whoever in that level, executives or the CEOs, they have to step in and resolve this conflict. And as you said, that conflict will be there, and most people inside the organization, they prefer to have a spot, just a blind spot, to not think about conflict and confront it, just rather that park it and try to deal it with day to day, day to day, to day to day. And at the end of the day, they will find themselves in a closed corner, and they will not achieve. Rather, they achieve the business goals, neither even their functional goals. That's why I think leadership is
Conflict's
playing
good.
very important. Yeah, yeah.
I
I would
mean, me
like
and
to
you.
hear.
I
Yeah.
mean, I think this might be the most important thing that I talk about on here. Conflict. I think that it's the reason why I scaled my career. Right. I mean, don't
Mhm.
get me wrong. It definitely definitely had a lot of tough conversations that people did not like, but it was like who's this person? I didn't care who you were, if you were the CEO of the company or not. It's just the way my mindset. You put your pants on like I do. If I had an issue, I'm going to go about it, and I want to have this conversation. This is what I'm feeling, right? This is what I think is. Do you want a yes person or a person that really wants to drive change, right? And I think that goes for anything, right? I mean, we were talking off stage, but it was like, conflict needs to be happening, right? But as a leader, you have to make sure that your team, your people know it's safe to have this conflict with you and other leaders, because at the end of the day, people don't want to lose their job. People are afraid. Not everyone's going to be a Michael Neme and they don't care, right? That's you just got to realize that, right? They're afraid to come to the table and say, hey, I don't agree with you, but I don't want to say that because I'm afraid to lose my job, right? I think so. It goes back into the leader of the company, the leaders inside the company need to make their people feel safe. And it's not a ping pong table. It's not like, oh, you make a ton of money. Make people feel safe that they have a voice, right? Not to say that you're going to take every idea. You might not take any of their ideas, but you'll never shun someone for having some type of idea that's going to press your own ideas, right? As a leader, embrace that. That's how you open communication. People feel safe. People want to talk. People start collaborating. Things are better. And that's just in general, right? You don't have to agree either. Having conflict, and it's like, you don't have to agree with someone to be able to have a conversation. There's a lot of people I do not agree with at all, but I opened my eyes to, even though I don't agree with these people, having the conversation, feeling safe is a good thing for just humanity, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, I get
Yeah.
passionate about that, but it's like more people need to put the emotion aside, like and start thinking about things logically and realizing like, hey, listen, you have to make your people feel safe inside companies. I don't care. It's just the bottom line, or you're never going to have a true, I mean, I want to say scalable company, but you're never going to have people that really, you're never going to have people, you're going to have a bunch of yes people.
Yeah. Because I'll tell you, especially in conflict, and I do remember Chris Voss. If you know Chris Voss, he has amazing book. I read it, which is Never Split the Difference. And when it
Yes.
comes to managing the conflict, he said just try. Conflict will be there even when you have something, and you need to negotiate rightly. And most people, when they come into negotiation just to listen, they cannot separate the problem from their emotions. And most people, when they got driven by the discussion, they got driven by their total emotions. And if you just have a zoom out view, and if you record the discussion, you will find that they are not focusing even in the conflict. Everyone is trying to convince the other by his stupid idea, with my respect. You got my point? This is my
Hey.
idea, because this is how we function. This is my idea. But hold it for a moment. Sometimes we are mistaken. Sometimes if just we listen for a moment, we will resolve this conflict. Conflict will be there, but what is the quality of the discussion that we have between each other? How can we take it to the next level? How can we remove any personal interest from the discussion? How can we focus
Lead with
on the
logic. Lead with logic, speak with emotion is what I say.
exactly.
Lead with logic, speak with emotion, and
Listen, and this is the power when you listen. The essence of that. And I used to be like that, honestly. When I come, no,
it's
no,
still a
no,
bad thing for me
yeah.
listening. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is because, again, we are human, but how you control yourself, this is the game. How you can be able to control yourself. Hold for a moment, listen, just calm down, and take this kind of conversation to just find a solution, not just to argue, because I see it. This is the best way for the business, and the other way, this is the best way for the business. But is it or
is
isn't it,
it?
or no? We
That's
don't
why I
know.
walk away from a lot of conversations. Like, it's funny is because, like, again, it goes back to ego, right? Ego is a huge thing. It's like,
Yeah.
and I still, every day, it's a learning experience for me, right? I tend to, because I am so like I want to challenge things, right? It's like, it's funny, even on this show right now, you just struck a chord with me, and I'm just like, how many times do I even to this day, I think that I look at things logically, right? I say
Mhm.
emotions make you emotional, logic makes you wealthy. And I'm laughing in my head because it's like, how many times, even this year, have I thought it was logical, but was it really just my own point of view? Because again, it's
Yeah.
that's crazy. I'm thinking about it like,
Yeah.
ah, thank you. You made me think about it in my own personal life.
Thank you.
Uh,
I have another question also in that. Let's jump into a little bit into the executive. So, how can the executives or the CEOs, I would say, drive values for their organization? whether it's for customer or internally. What do you think?
I
How
mean,
can they take it?
that's again is a big one. But knowing your wants and needs, knowing your customers' wants and needs, and knowing your people's wants and needs, right? It's like, again, it goes back to, let's say, people, right?
Mhm,
Everybody preaches about culture. Like, I'm so over that. Like, stop with the cult. Like, listen, every human being is different, right? Like, figure out what's going to drive. Like, the leader has to have some type of culture, right? He has to have some type of why. That's how you start a business, right? And then it's like, but knowing that when you start scaling, everybody's got a different why. That's fine. Knowing your teams, your leaders, knowing everybody inside your company's wants and needs, and tailoring those wants and needs to make sure that they're getting what they want, but it's also still following the mission of whatever your company is, right? Whatever your value prop is, right? So tons of different wants and needs, they're being fed, but but it's still how am I going to word this? It's still feeding into the main
mhm,
core business objectives, right?
mhm,
That's huge. And then customers, it's like a lot of people. I don't think a lot of CEOs even really know what their customers' wants and needs are, right? Or that's a huge thing. They treat and knowing your wants and needs, they treat every customer like the same, and that's a bad business model. You need to know the wants and needs of every customer, and you need to know your A customers, B customers, C customers, and those wants and needs, right? And then you got to, like,
mhm.
that's how you start building objectives around that. So did that make sense?
Make totally sense. And I just need to add something here also because uh, I like what you said. It's about the customers. When you just get deviated from just driving values, I will speak about also coming back to the personal interest. But here I will take it to the organizational interest or the company interest. When the company interest is also above your partners in the supply chain or your partners like customers, like suppliers, it's all about you. This is the first pitfall for the organization. So driving values. I'll give you an example how company they're trying to drive savings in their margins, regardless how they will take it from which step, and what will be the effect of these values. This could be taking or compromising some values from their suppliers, which will affect their relationship with the suppliers. Maybe it will be also from their customers. I need to reduce my inventory, let's say by X amount, but this will hit my service level or the availability with my customers, and this will put me in another level. So just also I'm just stressing on this: organizational interest should be the lowest level. And just again, you are serving your customers, you are with your partners, whether suppliers, whether stakeholders, whether shareholders inside the organization. Think by this way, and based on that, drive the values will be driven inside the organization.
I mean, it's not that. It sounds so funny because it's like not that difficult. Like, think about it. It's like your shareholders, stakeholders, they don't get any value. They're not going to make any money. Like, let's face it, they're not going to make any money if you're not driving value to your customers' wants and needs, right? And
Yeah.
it's a huge problem, right? It's like you don't truly, like, if I start that with everything. It's like, what's your customer? Why do you do the things you do? Is that why does your customer want it that way? Because it's like, well, we need cheap shipping. We need. Okay, well, put your buyer hat on, right? So take yourself outside the company. I say, when you go online and you go buy a product, right? I know
Mhm.
myself personally, I want easy use, right? I don't want to have to be like, especially like if it's a commodity, I'll go somewhere else.
Mhm.
I want to be able to go on, click it, buy it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the person that doesn't want cheap. I want to have the option to buy. I'll pay more to get my product. I'm needy, right? I'm needy. I want my product here now. A lot of people, my point of this is the company that knows those wants and needs and knows that their customers want options and are willing to pay for those options
Mm.
are the ones that is going to scale again, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, forget what our objectives are. We want to focus on our core customers, right? And they want options. We're going to make this switch. Now they're willing to pay for more expensive shipping, but they
Mhm.
want for the option of getting it there faster. Boom. Margins up, customers are happy.
Yeah.
What's to lose on that? Instead, you get focused on, well, no, 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 no. The customer's wants and needs are, you don't know. You have to know. And in order to know that is getting into the weeds with, again,
Yeah.
getting into the weeds. And if you're a $5 million, $10 million company, I mean, my own company, my own franchise is $15 million. I still talk to my customers daily, right? And not daily, that's a little much, but
Hourly.
knowing the wants and needs. So it's like a lot of CEOs already remove
Mhm.
themselves. They make it to 5 million, 10 million, and they think they made it. And I say is never forget what got you there. And that comes from your
Mhm.
customers, right? So start asking them what their wants and needs are. Are they happy with those? What could you do better? The
Yeah.
rest will fall in place.
Yeah. So, what is the best way, based on your experience inside the organizations and moving here, there, your great experience? What is the best way to uh, optimize or just improve the bottom line of the organization?
Know your cost to serve. Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like know
Give
your
me more details. Yeah. Give me more details on that.
properly pricing your product, right? I mean, I'll use the example again. It's like, okay, you get these companies that get into Walmart, right?
Mhm.
500 stores, they're about to launch, right? Okay, cool. How did you come to that agreement and that price of product, right? Did you properly allocate transportation cost into that pricing model, right?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, we just tacked on 12%. Oh no, please no, right? Because like now think about it, 500 stores, different. So each PO might be different. They might have the mode might be different. They didn't even take into consideration the mode, the location, and now they just flat out gave one price across the board to each location. So
Mhm.
again, it goes back to each location has different size POs, different.
Mhm.
Obviously, they're further, shorter. It all plays into effect. So that 12% you just literally allocated transportation cost in
Mhm.
without knowing your actual cost to serve by each location of that Walmart
Yeah.
deal
Yeah. Yeah.
just screwed you. It
Yeah.
really, I mean, that could make or break the make or break of that. That is the low hanging fruit when it comes to margin. I think is like it goes back to it's like I don't think that like if you, so for instance, pricing models are all different, right? They might have a like it might be too late to renegotiate your contract with whatever customer you're shipping
Mhm.
into, right? But the point of the cost to serve is knowing, what customers are profitable, really profitable, what customers are average, and then what customers are low and negative, right? Could be
Mhm.
negative, and then
Yes.
focusing in on the low and negative margin customers and figuring out a strategy to increase those
Mhm.
customers, increase those margins, right? I'm not saying like, listen, not every customer is going to be profitable. And yes, there's give and take. You might have to have some customers, like larger customers that are going to, be low margin or even negative, but it has to be
Mhm.
made up somewhere, somehow, right? And
Mhm.
knowing that having the visibility into those key cost drivers is crucial because you might be, sometimes I look at it and I was like, you're giving this A customer D service and you're giving this D customer A service.
Yeah.
This needs to be flipped. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of margin to be made in that.
Yeah. I like what you said because it opens also something in my mind when I think it's when you speak about the power of also the customer when it comes to that point, like something like Walmart, when you speak about 500 plus stores, which is direct store delivery, depends also on the distribution model that you're using.
Correct.
I'm not just talking about Walmart, but maybe you have some customers also on the other way when you can negotiate with them into another level where you can speak with them that some projects, some easy projects, which is centralization. Instead of just shipping to multiple points, you can work with them into centralization and they will be able to distribute for their stores by themselves. And
Yes.
it could be, the savings that I will have into my transportation as an organization versus the rebates that I can give it to them when they have something. Let's say I have, if I work with this customer and if I centralize the savings in my transportation, just because I'll be able to use a truck size, a bigger truck size instead of this, and I will centralize or aggregate all the demand one time into one location. These
Yep.
savings that I will have versus, let's say, it will be having, I will have saving into my margin like 2%. I could easily give like 1%, 1.5% to my as a rebates for the customer if he achieved
Yes.
XYZ. Yeah. And it's mutual benefits. It's not only one way or two ways, just it's mutual benefits between both. This kind of
Bingo.
discussion, it's something that can add a lot huge values. CRM, how can you speak with
100%.
them? Yeah, yeah.
And guess what? You need the CEO of the company to start having conversations like that.
Exactly.
Bottom bottom
Negotiate. Yeah.
line. But I'll give a couple other ones. If I say FOB, right?
Mm,
So a lot of emerging growth stage, CPG companies, they're going to UNFI, KHE,
mm,
and they don't have the resources, cost, budget, or even overhead to handle their transportation. So it makes sense, right? They'll have to
mm.
cut into their own margin. So yeah, UNFI says, hey, listen, we'll handle your supply chain, we'll pick up and whatnot
Free on
for
board,
you, but
yes.
we want we're allocating about 18% of extra, right? It's going to cost 18% of the sale. Okay, well, I'll go in and I'll say, these companies realize they start scaling, but they still don't have the resources overhead. They don't know a 3PL could do exactly the same thing, but not charge them 18%. So what I'll do is I'll go in and say, hey, let's take over this FOB because you can. Let me
Mm,
show you exactly what the cost to serve is on these FOB. Well,
yeah,
they're telling you 18%. It's actually 9%, right? So I could
mm,
put, I'll take what,
yeah,
5% or
yeah,
whatever it may be, but now you can put more. Or handling your inbound transportation. That's a huge one.
yeah.
Being able to, you know, people think that they're like, oh, well, we hit a mark and we get free shipping. Listen, if you are very sophisticated as a company, you're not giving free shipping out. You're just smart and you're allocating your price, you're allocating transportation into your pricing model. So it's
Mm,
time that you take over your inbound or
yeah,
free shipping. Everybody offers free shipping, right? Believe it or not, people when I say, how do you justify, buy $100 worth of product and it's free? How did you come to that? Well, we just, $100 sounded nice. Well, that's not logical, right? From a business
yeah,
standpoint. Then
yeah.
it's like a lot of people don't even take I say, allocate transportation costs in the pricing model. Think about your own self. Do you actually I don't really look at like I look at the shipping cost, right? Too. It's like if I
Mhm,
look at something online, I'm like, oh, I mean, I'll pay the extra thing, but I'm still that number sticks out to me, the shipping cost.
mm,
What about having it across the board, right? Free shipping for everybody, but you're properly allocating your transportation cost into your pricing model. So
yeah,
maybe the product's $20 more, but that doesn't really, from a buyer standpoint, I'm not looking at that. And I see free shipping, bingo. Now you're still tying transportation cost in.
incremental sales. Yeah, yeah.
Nobody
But
sees shipping. They
you have
think
to
they're
build
getting
it.
free shipping.
You
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
build it
I
in
mean,
you.
exactly. It's a process, but it's like you are gonna, especially in CPG world, a lot of these protein bars, chips and puffs,
Mm,
health food. It's all a commodity. That you got to think if you want to play with the big boys, you got to start thinking like that, right? Because
mm,
they have those big companies have the margin. They can lose that. They can lose that in
yeah,
not blink an eye. The emerging companies, they need to be more. They got to play by their own rules, and these rules start with the things that I just mentioned, right?
yeah,
Play chess, not checkers.
yeah. Michael, again, if you can see that the time is almost 1 hour, I didn't feel the time at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got it going. My bad,
yeah,
man.
yeah, no, not at all. I'm saying that time is flying. I think that we have reached to just to the end. Just I need to stress again. Thank you so much for the great values that you have today, and thanks for and really I'm honored to have you today in the show. And hopefully that we can have another session, maybe something
Definitely,
also
man.
related to the
Thank you.
transportation. How can we enhance it into the next level? Also, we need to thank our lovely audience today who joined us. And if we just if you have any questions also to Michael, please don't hesitate to connect with Michael and ask him regarding anything at any time. Thank you again, guys, and thank you, Michael, for just coming into the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, brother.
Bye bye.
Talk to you.
Bye bye.